All right, baby. You know what it is. Yeah, WSME. SM Enlightenment Radio. Good evening and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to the Sunday Night Spotlight. Comes at you every Sunday right here on WSME SM Enlightenment Radio. And you know, every time we do this Sunday Night Spotlight thing, you know, I always say that we like to talk to someone of interest, someone that I think that my audience is definitely going to like to hear from, somebody that has a story to tell, somebody that has a thought, something to think about. Ladies and gentlemen, I have Dr. Tiffany Tyson in the house, in the building, straight out from North Carolina, all right, and she is the creator of Tyson Multimedia, also a healthcare professional for a lot of years, and also an author as well of a couple of projects. And the latest one is one called Patty Fix It for the kids. Dr. Tiffany Tyson, welcome to the Sunday Night Spotlight. How are you?
Hello. I'm wonderful. Thank you for inviting me on the show.
Well, hey, thank you for coming on. You know, all of us here at SM Enlightenment Media, you know, we're all about positivity. You know, our whole thing is positivity is everything, you know, and we like to keep people thinking in a positive way. And it seems as though you've sort of dedicated your life to helping people find that good positive place.
Yes.
Wow. So you're a doctor, and what are the fields that you have studied as a doctor?
Well, I've studied family medicine, also psychiatry, and I'm currently practicing psychiatry in North Carolina in the Rocky Mount area, and I provide services to children, teens, and adults.
Wow. So I know that you come across a lot of different challenges, especially as of late, you know, and I'd like to get into some of the things that you're seeing now, you know, that are unique to this time, because we
Right.
have a whole new set of anxieties and things to worry about, and you know, things that throw us off mentally. But I really want to know more about Dr. Tiffany Tyson. Now, first of all, so are you from North Carolina, right?
I'm from North Carolina.
Right, born and raised.
Yes.
Okay. So what was your experience there that growing up in your community that shaped you to pursue the career in healthcare?
Well, I actually had a great childhood growing up in North Carolina. I come from strong women of courage, and my grandmother, my mom, my aunt, and they all instilled in me just wonderful values. And they worked in the hospital setting, so from a young age, I volunteered in the hospital setting. I helped out at nursing homes, and I knew that I wanted to help others. I knew that I wanted to make a difference in someone else's life.
Right. Wow. I mean, so it's sort of like a nurturing kind of instinct there, you know?
Yes, you can call it
So
nurturing.
yeah, see, I like that. I like that. So now, what are some of the unique things that you've seen, like in your community coming up? You know that you know that you see, that's like, you know, something that's unique to North Carolina that you may not necessarily see everywhere else. You know, in times of, you know, dealing with the different types of struggles that people have
Well,
in your
North
community.
Carolina is the tobacco capital. And
Hmm.
so, a lot of agriculture here. And so, of course, right now, things have been difficult for a lot of people with just being able to get out and about to the stores due to the pandemic.
Right.
And so there's a lot of challenges. Of course, there's challenges with jobs in general for individuals. There's several people that have filed for unemployment right now because of the pandemic. And so this is a very, very challenging time for everyone.
Yeah, and it really is crazy. I see that, from the beginning when you were coming up, it looks like you went directly into a lot of healthcare. So, did you always want to be a psychiatrist or in that field, or because it looks like you really started just in nursing at
Right.
first?
So I started in nursing at first, and I knew I wanted to be in healthcare, and I knew I wanted to. And it's funny, you say, it's like I did a circle. So I
Yeah.
started in nursing, and so, you train in different areas. You train in labor and delivery, you train in medical surgical. And growing up, it's like I always came back to psychiatrists. Like my friends were asking me different questions. They would come in with different issues. And some of my best mentors in college were my psychiatric teachers. And
Mm.
so it's like it just came around full circle that I came back to psychiatry. And I love being able to help people, especially helping the children, because I think a lot of times adults are dealing with issues that they had in childhood. So if you can get a child that's early on and help them, and that way they can be better, stronger adults.
You know, that is such a great perspective to look at it. Is that, yeah, it's like you got to get them when they're younger, and it's I see, you study in fields such as schizophrenia and stuff like that, whereas it's like, especially in a lot of our black communities, we don't even address a lot of those
Right.
illnesses.
So for so many years, mental illness has been this taboo thing to even talk about.
Yeah.
What happens in the family stays in the family, especially in the African American community, the Hispanic community, the brown people community. It's been one of those things, people may have known, oh, cousin such and such has schizophrenia, but we don't talk about it, or he was sent away to this hospital. And
Right.
so for so many years, there's been so many stereotypes around mental illness itself. And so people just didn't want to talk about it. But as the years have progressed, we see celebrities coming out in the news that have mental illness, and people are like, wow, these people are just like my neighbor, just like my family, just like us. They're dealing with mental illness as well. And so once we started seeing celebrities, I remember BB Campbell Moore came out, and she was a great author in her time. And so writing these books and things like that, we realized that we have an issue. And so now you see more African American people coming to seek help, because also what else is key to this is they see people that look like them in the office, and they
Right.
feel like they can relate to them better because they see someone that looks like them, and so they're not as afraid to come to seek services. And also what's happening, healthcare has now become a integrated process. So sometimes the mental illness care actually starts in primary. And so again, people don't have to feel afraid, oh, you're going to see that shrink, or you must be crazy.
Yeah.
They hear those names. And so now mental health starts in primary care. So that way, people don't really know that you're coming in to be seen for anxiety and depression. And so your primary care provider is the individual that may treat you first. But then if they've tried, medication number one, number two, number three, it's not working. So then you may be referred to someone like myself to help you with your mental illness that you may be dealing with.
Yeah. So what's a lot of the sort of common type of triggers that you see that are there things that trigger more mental illness? I know some mental illness could just be, just a part of someone's the way that they are from the beginning. I mean, is that true?
Right.
I mean, is it just some things that you just it is what it is. But then there are other things there are outside influences that can influence other types of.
Correct. So now mental illness can have a genetic predisposition. Sometimes anxiety, depression, schizophrenia, these things can be genetically triggered. So for instance, if you have a mother or father that may have bipolar, the son or the daughter may have bipolar. But like you
Right.
said, there are other triggers. There are sometimes people have issues if they have separation anxiety, if something's happened in their childhood where the parents may have gotten divorced or separated, or they may have gotten lost, whether they were at camp or whether they were on a trip. And so sometimes social anxiety or separation anxiety can happen. And right now, there are several triggers that are going on right now in society. There was just this recent election. A lot
Right.
of people were coming in with anxiety because they had a fear of what the future was going to hold. And so sometimes not knowing what's going to happen can trigger anxiety. Sometimes having financial stressors can trigger anxiety, not knowing where you're going to get that, not knowing how you're going to pay a light meal. These things can also trigger anxiety as well. And we know that sometimes women, they deal with different hormonal shifts through pregnancy and menopause and things like that. And sometimes that can lead to postpartum depression because you have a shift of hormones. And so
Right.
there's several different factors that can contribute. Going back to learning this year, learning has changed from in person to virtual, and that can cause some fear and some anxiety as well. A lot of people were afraid; were not sure how this modality was going to go. Some people may not have had hotspots or computers, and so they were wondering how was my child going to learn this year or and sometimes technology can be very frightening for some people that may not be familiar with technology. So there are a lot of different things that can trigger anxiety and depression. Isolation. A lot
Yeah.
of people have been in isolation during the pandemic, not being able to visit or touch or have a hug from a loved one. And that's why it's been so important during this time to keep in contact with your loved ones, whether it's through FaceTime, whether it's through text, and even the individuals that have been in the nursing home. It's so important for the families, even if they were not able to go in and physically sit down one on one and talk to them, touch them, hug them, give them a kiss, they were able to come and see them outside of the window. And so isolation has also been another trigger
Right.
for
Right.
anxiety and depression.
Do you see so culturally? Do you see um, us, as black people, suffering from certain types of? Well, I know a lot of us really suffer from post traumatic stress. You know, just depending upon where we live and the experiences that we have. But what are some of the more unique? Are there more unique kind of things that you see that we suffer from in our community? That's as opposed to other areas.
Again, I think it goes back to access to health care. So if you're dealing with social disparities, whether you have lack of insurance or lack of transportation to get to health care, that has been one unique thing. And so fortunately, the place that I work at, we're able to help individuals with, if they don't have insurance, we have a sliding scale that works with your unique economical situation. And so some of that, again, going back to lack of access to healthcare, but it also goes back to, again, being stereotyped. So you may have, African Americans may have wanted to seek treatment, but it's either been tabooed or,
Yeah.
we don't go to the doctor for that. We go to the doctor if we have high blood pressure or diabetes. And so depression and anxiety also have scales. There's also ways to, if you're anxious, you're going to have chest palpitations, your heart rate is going to go up. And so sometimes anxiety and panic disorder is mistreated because they may think they have a heart condition, or it's good that they go to the hospital
Right.
for, that panic attack because they think they're having a heart attack. But then after the tests are ran, it's diagnosed as you have anxiety or you have panic attack. And we know some people don't like to take medicines in general anyway if they have high blood pressure or diabetes. So sometimes it's a fear of, I'm going to be placed on this medication, again, I'm going to be labeled. And people don't want to be labeled, especially if you're African American and you're already dealing with racial issues and inequality. Then you add on, okay, now I have this mental health illness to add on top of my racial inequality. And so it really makes it hard. But again, at the end of the day, I tell those individuals, if you're dealing with something, don't suffer in silence. You don't have to suffer in silence because there's help now. You can either go to a talk therapist, you can see a counselor if you're dealing with, you don't want to be placed on a medicine. But the first thing is to recognize that you're having an issue, to recognize that. And that's the same way it would be if you were having diabetes. You start noticing that your vision is changing, you're developing numbness and tingling in your hands and your feet, you're becoming shaky, you're trembling, or you're tired during the day. And so that's when you want to go and get these changes checked out. For instance, with depression, if you notice that you're sleeping all day, you're not eating, you feel isolated, you don't want to interact with others, these are reasons for you to go and come and get checked out. Why am I not wanting to interact with people? Why am I sleeping all day?
Right.
You're dealing with depression.
So let me ask you, as far as like this seasonal depression that people talk about, I mean, is that unique to any particular demographic? I mean, because it seems as though I never hear Black folks suffering from that. When the fall time comes, like they get depressed and stuff like that. But it's just my own personal experience. But I think that a lot of the things when we have sicknesses, that it's sort of swept so much under the rug. Right. That's why I was like kind of really trying to put my finger on, like, do Black folks like suffer from different types of stuff, or we really all suffer from the same stuff as just being human beings? It's just that it's the way, like you said, the way that we have access to healthcare, or the way that we are even able to say, hey, I think I need help. I mean, when you're in the barbershop or in the beauty salon, you talk about all kinds of stuff, but you don't really talk about, hey, haven't been feeling well. Anybody I could talk to?
or as you know, Black people go to the church. So, everything's taken to the church. They get a lot of their nurturing at the church. And sometimes, like you mentioned, barbershops and hair salons, a lot of times when you're down there and when you're talking amongst your friends and your stylists, and then as you get to talking, you may realize, oh, wow, okay, I'm dealing with that too. You dealing with that? Yeah.
Right.
And sometimes, just talking amongst your peers, your friends, may also empower you to go seek help. But actually going back to your question, seasonal affect disorder is real. People can get depressed, as you notice, when the clock just went back. It's dark now, and people can get depressed during this season. It's not bright, it's not sunny, and that's why it's encouraged to get a little bit of vitamin D when you see that sun come out. Even if you just sit for 10 minutes or 5 minutes to get that vitamin D or that sunlight. Sunlight does make you feel better. It brightens up your day. It makes you smile. And so when it's getting dark outside earlier, yes, people do start feeling a little bit more depressed, but they may not have recognized it as that. They may say, oh, the clock has changed, oh, I'm feeling a little tired. Again, everybody equates depression or anxiety in a different way.
Right.
Again, going back to, they may say, I've noticed that I'm sleeping a little bit longer, or I'm eating more. When I get stressed, I eat more, or when I'm stressed, I don't eat. So everybody's definition of depression and anxiety is different. And that's why when people come in, you have to realize that every ethnicity group has a different way of explaining how they're feeling. And so it's important for it's great to have a good patient-provider relationship. And that way that person feel like they can talk to you and
Right.
tell you how they're really feeling. And you have to really know, it's also going back to knowing yourself, knowing your body, listening to your body, knowing when your body is changing, whether it's through sleep or socialization or lack of socialization. It's very important for us all to know our bodies, because sometimes when we go into the doctor's office, we expect the doctor to have all the answers, but you have to give us some feedback as well. You have
Right.
to, as we're asking the questions, how are you eating? Are you eating this? Are you exercising? Are you sleeping well? And because it may just be a problem of you're not getting enough sleep, but what's stressing you out? What are some things that's happening during the day? So it's very important, but again, you have to have that great relationship with that provider. And if you feel like you don't have that relationship with that provider, you may need to find a new provider if you feel like you can't share what's actually going on with you.
One thing that I think that's good that I've noticed in the last several years, like even when I visit my primary care doctor, like the assistant or whomever sees you at first asks you questions about, like, how do you feel? You feel safe in your home? How and it's like new questions now. It's like, you never used to ask me this kind of stuff before, but it's good because it's actually an opportunity.
Right.
You see, where it's right there in that privacy, now you could say, hey, as a matter of fact, that's the opportunity, folks.
Right.
If you're not feeling good, you just go for a physical. They're going to ask you. You could say, hey, something ain't right.
Right. And so providers now are trying to take care of their patients more holistically. And again, going back to the integrative model before, primary care providers, may didn't ask certain questions, but now they're adding those certain questions, like you said, when you first meet the assistant, to see how you're really feeling. So when you're in touch, they're getting in touch more now with how the person is feeling.
That's really, that's something. But, what I want to really get into, we're going to bounce to a little bit of a break and pay a couple of bills. But when I come back, Tyson Multimedia, I want to really get into that. And because I know I have a feeling there's a story behind this thing, folks. So we got to know a little bit about Dr. Tyson. Now we're going to get into all that she does or has been doing, and you don't want to miss the rest of the story, folks. So stick and stay. More is on the way. The Sunday Night Spotlight right here, WSME SM Enlightenment Radio. Stick around, baby. Baby, for the soul, the mind, the ear, WSME SM Enlightenment Radio. Good evening and welcome once again. It is the Sunday Night Spotlight right here, and we're just having a good time right here. I mean, we're talking to Dr. Tiffany Tyson, all right, of Tyson Multimedia, all right. This is a health professional from North Carolina, has studied bunch in a number of different fields, and we were just talking about where she is now, just talking about a lot of the psychological stuff. You are a psychiatrist, right?
Yes, I provide psychiatric services. Yeah.
But you have this Tyson Multimedia, all right, that it looks like a fantastic thing that you have there, whereas you provide workshops in your community and a lot of different things. Talk to me about that, Tyson Multimedia.
Okay. So Tyson Multimedia, yes. So growing up, as I said earlier, I had strong female role models. And so Tyson Multimedia is about bringing together strong female role models in the community and empowering, enriching other young women and girls in areas of entrepreneurship, leadership, science, technology, and art. And as you know, we don't have that many minorities in STEM careers.
Right.
And so it gets young women excited about being in those careers. And again, going back to if they see someone that looks like them in those careers of science and technology. And so annually, I do a workshop, and it's held in Rocky Mount area, North Carolina. And we bring in again, different celebrity speakers. We have a fun day, we have comedy, we have music, and then we also, for the women, we have a day of beauty, and then we also bring in science and technology where the kids and the women can get involved in a science activity and where they are able to have fun and engage with their peers while also learn about science, technology, and art and mathematics.
Wow. Wow. Because, so is this primarily for girls?
This is primarily for girls, but what's been unique, I also provide summer camps, and this year we did virtual because of the pandemic. And so again, we were able to bring in math and science with our virtual platform this summer. But yes, it has been primarily for girls, but boys are hearing about it, their parents are hearing about it. And so sometimes
Right.
we have boys that come to the summer camp, we have boys that come to the workshop. And so it's been really we started out with 50 and now it's grown to 300, 400 people that are coming to the workshop. So it's been a wonderful thing to be able to share with the community.
So now that we have a new VP, that sort of looks like a lot of the girls in our community.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
that has to be something that's a positive uh thing for them, right?
Yes, this is a wonderful thing for women, women of color. It shows you that we're now included. This is about diversity and inclusion. We are at the table. We have been at the table, but now we're walking through the doors. And
Right.
so this is a wonderful time for women of color, a wonderful time for women to continue to pursue your dreams because it can really happen. We just saw this. It can really happen.
Yeah, and and I really like the speech that she gave where she was saying, "Hey, I'm not the last." You know,
Exactly.
you
Like
know,
she's opened the door for many more women to come through. And girls, young girls watching at home, they have to be inspired and empowered to see this historical moment in history.
yeah, because I mean, hey, it's been said that hey, we're only as good as our women, in a society, and you know, if our women don't have it right, then there you have it. Now you are an author and
Yes.
Urban Princess. I know that was a project that you did. We're going to talk about your current one in a minute, but
Okay. Okay.
Urban Princess. I know that's explain to me the premise of that because from what it is like the overview looks really good. I
Okay.
want you to explain that.
Okay, so I wrote Urban Princess going back to sometimes we stereotype people where they come from, and so
Uh huh.
this book teaches us not to stereotype people for where they live or what type of accent they have or what they look like. So this is a teenage love story. It's a coming of age story about Mark, who's from Beverly Hills. He meets this lovely young lady named Lisa. She's from South Los Angeles, and at first he's stereotyping her.
Mm.
How many kids do you have? Are you finished school? And so we as a society have to learn not to stereotype people just from where they live. So this book not only talks about um, first love. It also talks about being true to yourself and not feeling that you have to change to fit in where
Right.
you're trying to get to, and that no matter where you live, you can achieve your dreams and goals.
And you know, it's a great story because you almost telling a story of like two different people from two different kind of backgrounds and areas,
Yes.
and coming together, and how it is that they can, because that seems as though that's the narrative or the story that, or the lesson that we still have to learn,
Yes. Yes.
that we can be different. Two people could be different and still come together. I mean, 30 something years ago, I did a McDonald's Happy Meal, rapping about dinosaurs, Bones and Dodo. And they were two different dinosaurs coming from two different areas. And it was like a whole big story about how these two dinosaurs could come together and be friends.
Yes.
And we're always trying to tell that story. And
Yes.
it's healing. We got to drill it in.
Right, right. And it's what we're dealing with right now. It's about diversity. It's about racial equality.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important for parents to teach their kids about diversity, because we live in a diverse world. When you're in the classroom setting, kids are sitting beside, you know, other kids from all different ethnicities. Other children may have speech issues. They may have mobility issues. They may have Down syndrome, and so it's important to have those conversations with your child. But it's also important to, if they're in a classroom in that setting, teach them about other cultures. Whether you read different books to your child that have different diverse characters in them, where you watch certain television shows that have, individuals that may be in a wheelchair, they may
Right.
be brown or yellow skin characters. It's important to teach your children about those things, and go to different cultural events. Go to expose them to different cultural events that are happening in your community. And so I think that's really important.
Yeah, yeah, and especially showing your kids different things. So I mean,
Yes.
if you can't always travel with them so that you can show them different parts of the world, you should always definitely open up the world to the kids in different ways, or
Yeah.
however you can do it,
Yeah.
because who we are as adults is every bit of the resultants of our childhood, and it's people ignore that, and I think that it's great work that you focus on the younger ones, and this latest project as an author. How many books you wrote so far now? How many books?
So this is the third book. So
Third book.
Urban had a spin-off. I wanted to create a kind of a workbook. So I did short stories, and after each short story, there's activities to
Okay.
listen to Urban Princess, because I think it's important. And in that particular book, there's different lessons on relationships, because I noticed that girls and guys can get involved in the wrong type of relationship. So in that particular book, there's a section about that. Also about career choices. Sometimes we don't, as young people, they may not know what type of career they want to go into. And so we talk about that in the book, about how you get there by shadowing with someone,
Mm-hmm.
or, you know, spending a day with that particular person, learn about their field and what they do. And this may be something that you may be interested in later. And also determining what your likes are and what your dislike, what your interests are, to figure out what kind of career choice that you want to participate in. There's also a section in there going back to relationships, knowing what love is, knowing, how you're supposed to be treated by that boy or that girl, or how you should be treated by that boy or that girl.
Yeah, because you could see certain stuff in your community or in your family and falsely think that if that's acceptable behavior when
Or
it's
that's
really not,
right.
you know, but you see everybody else dealing with it. And that's Ooh. And, just like when I look at what I really had a great feeling about is just seeing that you got this project that uh, talking about the bullying,
Yes.
Patty Fix It. I love that. I really love that. And, because, people been bullied for years. I think,
Yeah.
a lot of the stuff that we were suffering from politically as of late is the result of just somebody that just got bullied entirely too much as a kid and just never knew how to deal with it.
Correct.
You know what
Correct.
I'm saying? And now everybody suffers
Yes. Yes.
because people that are abused a lot of times end up growing up and being abusers. But
Right. Please hurt others because they're hurting themselves.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So tell me about Patty Fix It. What's that about?
Oh, so I'm excited about this project. Again, it talks about bullying. Like you said earlier, we all have experienced bullying. I've experienced bullying growing up, and I remember what I felt like as a middle school child. I remember having a friend that stepped in for me that day and said, "No more. You're not going to do this anymore." And so it talks about stepping up for those that are being bullied. That it's okay to step up for your friends and not just sit on the sidelines and be a bystander, but take action and help those individuals. And then, telling someone, again, whether it's a teacher, whether it's a parent, telling someone what you're dealing with, that's very empowering. I mean, finally, when I was able to tell my mom that I was being bullied at school, I
Mm,
felt this heavy weight off of me. I felt like, wow, this is such a relief. I can actually open up and tell her about what's actually happening at school. And then she was able to figure out a solution for me. And so, people bully for different reasons. They bully because, again, you look different, you act different, you're making good grades, or you're on a sports team. So there's several reasons they're being bullied at home. So now they come to school and they're bullying someone else at school. So there's several reasons why people bully, especially now where a lot of kids were doing virtual learning. So there
right.
are cyberbullies to be wary of, or for kids that are learning virtually right now. And so it's important for parents to kind of again look in and see what are some how their child is behaving during virtual learning, or how is their behavior, is someone actually bullying them. So there's unique things that parents can do. They can put blocks on certain sites if their child is being bullied. There are apps now where they can monitor the child's text messages, or
Right.
if the child's feeling depressed or being bullied by a classmate. But bullying has actually gone up about 17% now since kids are more online. And so, again, like you said, this,
Wow.
this topic is ongoing, especially right now with virtual learning.
That's amazing. And it's something that, I could speak for myself. I know growing up, uh, you know, never had to deal with, or, I mean, there was no cyber to be bullied on. you know, when I was coming up, I mean, you got bullied at school or you got bullied at the bus stop, but, when you got home, it was okay. You know, with this cyber stuff, that's like relentless. It could be relentless 24 hours constantly, and it's going straight to your mind and straight to your emotions. It's it's unavoidable, and you could see how the results are. Whereas kids, or people, and I mean, because adults could get cyberbullied too, and it could be
Correct.
just as bad. I've had folks that have gone into groups or been too opinionated on somebody's Facebook page and spark like a storm of people coming after them, and
Exactly.
to the point where they have to like stop and get all
Exactly.
paranoid, and it's like, oh, I know they're gonna find out where I live. I'm gonna go off the grid. I mean, what is the solution to bullying out here? I mean, is there? Is
Well,
there a cure? Is there a cure,
so
doctor?
again, this is like a effort of everyone. So in the school setting, it's like you have to have a task force. You have to have a team. It's
Right.
not just the principal, it's the counselors, the teachers, it's even the bus driver. And I think everyone needs to be trained on how to identify when that's happening. And, bus drivers are driving the bus, they can't really look back and see what's going on. So I think it's important to have a monitor on the bus so they can also see what the kids are doing and how they're interacting. And I think it's important for the schools to have a plan, and if they have a plan, to follow that plan and make sure that it's executed. It's not, I don't think it's just the parents' involvement, but it's also the school's involvement, because children are at school most of the time,
Mm-hmm.
than at home. They're at school most of the time, whether it's through sports or after school programs or just during regular class time. So it's going to take all of us together to be able to deal with bullying.
Yeah, it's quite a thing out here to contend with and to deal with. How can folks get the book?
So the book
Patty
is
Fix It.
available on Amazon. It's available on Barnes and Noble, Author House, a couple of places that the book is available. And the unique thing I like about this story is Patty's able to. It teaches kids that you don't have to fight to get your point across. That kids can also, even at that young age, can sit and talk through and have dialogue instead of fighting, and they can come to a solution, and they can again work together to solve an issue rather than fighting.
Right. So Patty Fix It sort of like she's like a superhero.
Yes, she is a shero.
Yeah. Well,
Shero, yes,
I
she's a
don't know.
shero.
I think you're a shero too.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
Absolutely. And the fact that the work that you do, you know, I mean, it's just something it's so much needed. We need these types of things in our community, and regardless of the community in the world,
Yes,
people need to pay attention to more of how they're really feeling
right, right. Goes back
emotionally,
to yes,
because it really is everything. I mean, you could, like, just like you see people, rich people and people that you would think that have it all together commit suicide, and you say, well,
right.
why?
And so
And
mental illness doesn't have a race, doesn't have a culture, has no zip code. Mental illness can affect all of us at any given time.
right.
And especially right now with everything that's going on. I mean, some people just, and I tell my clients in my office, you can't watch the things that are going on TV 24/7 because it will make you feel depressed.
Ooh.
Turn on the news every day, whether it was dealing with the election or dealing with the racial injustice, it will make you feel depressed. So you have to, I give them a tip. You have to, one, make sure that you're sleeping well. You have to make sure that you're eating well. You have to make sure that you're exercising your body, and you're also exercising your mind by reading positive things, inspirational things, or surrounding yourself with positive people. And again,
Mm-hmm.
making sure that you're not being isolated and reaching out, whether it's through phone, text, video chat, or if you have your close knit friends that you feel safe around, again, wearing your mask and social distancing. But again, we all need some type of human contact. And so I remind them that these things are important, especially right now during the pandemic. And also laughter. We need laughter right now because there's so many things that are so serious. So laughter helps decrease stress as well.
Oh yeah. Laughter and a lot of hugs, right?
Yes,
Hugs are always good.
hugs
You
are
know.
nice. And it's been hard to not do hugs now, but you have to do that cyber hug or a virtual hug. Hugs are difficult right now because of the pandemic, but hugs are important.
What advice would you have for someone that's with that's feeling down, I mean, you could have, like we was talking about, the seasonal depression, plus the fact that we got this pandemic going on, plus the fact that it's holiday season. Some people just get depressed just because it's holiday season, and then not only that, but you can't even get together with people during the holidays. I mean, any advice, like someone that's watching, they say, Dr. Tiffany, like, what would you suggest? Like, if they're just feeling a little down, what would be the first step that you would think that they could go to feel better for themselves?
So again, going back to the list, I think a lot of people, even if you're at home, if you're working from home right now, still make a schedule. Still get up, make a schedule. And the first thing that you can do, you can always find, and I tell people, at least 3 things that you're thankful for. Even as whether you have food on the table,
yeah,
you have breath in your body that day, your lights are on, your bills are paid. There's always something to be thankful for. So I reach back and tell them about gratitude. So first thing is gratitude. And if you can find 3 things that you're thankful for, then that's a great way to start your day. And start your day off with something positive. Again, going back to a lot of people like music, whether music is your thing, listening to some feel-good music in the morning, gets you, your heart racing, gets you kind of amped up for the day, even if you're staying at home or if you're going to work. And again, feeding your mind, whether it's positive music, positive messages, whether you're a fan of Joe Osteen or whoever or your pastor, watching things that are positive online, and going back to that human connection.
Yeah.
Going back to that human connection, again, calling that family member on the phone, texting that family member, doing FaceTime, having some type of contact. And also exercise. Those are the key things. Exercise, making sure that you're eating well. Because not only if you're eating, sleeping well, exercising, guess what? This is going to keep your immune system up. This is going to help you deal with the stress that you may be facing, whether it's the pandemic, whether it's seeing things on TV. So all these things are going to keep your immune systems up.
Dr. Tiffany Tyson. Wow. I mean, you've I hope this is not the last that I'm gonna see of you. All right. I think I'm always gonna want you to come around sometimes. There, I mean, you making me feel like Mr. Rogers. Like Mr. Rogers, like Mr. Rogers' neighborhood here. Hey, let's check in with Dr. Tiffany. Say, hey, Dr. Tiffany. But it's Tyson Multimedia. Tell the folks. I want you to tell the folks the different ways that they can contact you, that they can reach you, that they can follow you, and that you have your different social media. So, this is the time right now for the shameless plug, Dr. Tiffany. Okay. Let us have it.
All right. So you can follow Tyson Multimedia at www.tysonmultimedia.com. We have a Facebook page, an Instagram page, and we have our website. You can also call us at 252-281-4884. And we will be happy to, if you're looking for a virtual event for your church group, your kids at home, or whatever the case may be. We've worked with a lot of schools in the past. We've worked with school districts in putting together different programs. So whatever your need may be, whether it's STEM, whether it's motivation, whether it's empowerment, if you want to order a book, you can find us again at TysonMultimedia.com, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Dr. Tiffany Tyson, thank you so much for being a part of tonight's show. The Sunday Night Spotlight, it comes at you every Sunday. This has been a fantastic show. Once again, thank you so much for being a part of this, Doctor. And I want to thank all of you listeners and you viewers out there. If you like this, if you're seeing this on YouTube or whatever it is, Share it, share it, share it. People need to see this and need to get this information. I am the great Doc P, along with Dr. Tiffany Tyson. All right, SM Enlightenment Radio, SMEnlightenmentmedia.com. Keep it locked, baby. More is on the way. SM Enlightenment Radio. Good night, y'all. Peace. All right, fantastic.
Okay.